Air filter. An air filter solution is something you have to come up with on these installs because the original 1.6 that these come with, these factory diesels came with, have a big air box that goes right in here, and it has connected to an air boot, and there's a secondary kind of like a resonator in here in this cavity. Okay, so when you put the AHU in, which of course has a turbocharger and everything right here, that air box, there's no room for that. That all goes away. So you have all this empty space right here, which I may have said in another video. There's people put an intercooler in there sometimes and whatnot, but that's a great space for an air cleaner setup, I think. What I did is I had an old K&N cone, Fast and the Furious cone air filter, cold air intake lying around, and I put it right back there in that location, that cavity right there. And I basically, the original air box that was in there is rubber mounted to the body with two studs, and there are two 6mm mounting holes right there, which is threaded holes, which is nice. So I took an old timing belt, as you can see, which is one of the toughest things known to man, and I cut that, and I am suspending this. You can see I'm suspending this air filter from that, and that's connected to my temporary custom air boot that goes right down to my turbo inlet. Okay, so that is my temporary solution to that. What I want ultimately to have in there is I want it to be enclosed in an actual air box, because this is awfully loud. There's a lot of intake noise off of this, and I'm not really too crazy about that. Kind of distracting going down the road. So I'm going to get an air box to fit in there, and eventually connect into the factory snorkel apparatus, which I still have the original parts, and that snorkel goes up right in here. So the air intake, the factory air intake, is right in there. There's a snorkel tube that goes right here, and it connects to a pipe, and it goes down into there. So I'm going to eventually connect into that. But right now I'm trying to find a suitable air filter for that. A lot of people use, looks like a Donaldson filter, and I was looking at those, and I was looking at some of the flow specs on those, and the ones I saw, I didn't do a lot, I didn't dig too deeply, but the ones I saw were flowing, like 60 cubic feet a minute, and that's not even close, to what this motor requires, because the Jetta filter I checked, and I believe they said it was the OEM filter flows around 210 cubic feet per minute, I think is what it was. So 60 versus 210, that's not even close. So I'm looking for a filter, a more permanent solution, an air box that's going to go in there. K&N has a dandy. It's called, I think it's Orion, and what do they call it? They call it a enclosed intake or something, but it's Orion, and I'll see if I can put a link to it down here on the video in the description. But that thing flows a tremendous amount. It says it's suitable for builds up to 500 horsepower, which this thing isn't even close to, so that'll be just fine. And it's real compact, and it has nice inlets and outlets, and that'll fit right back in there. And that K&N will connect to my factory snorkel, and that should be a lot quieter than this. I did find something else too that I don't know, some of you might be interested in. This was kind of interesting. This is a airbox out of an early 90s Honda Accord, and this also fits back in there really nicely. This is real compact, and you got your outlet right there, and you got your inlet. And Honda stuff, is of excellent quality, just rock solid, very well built. This is actually Siemens, which is German. It's kind of interesting if you can see that. So on a Japanese car, but in any case, the filter I checked into it, and the OEM filter on this flows 160 CFM. Okay, so that's still not quite enough, but K&N offers a drop-in filter identical to this that fits in this airbox that flows 390 CFM. So plenty. So you can get great filtration and great airflow out of this Honda airbox for the do-it-yourselfers out there. And this is, well, I guess this is all do-it-yourself, but for the budget-minded, and this, you can get one of these in a junkyard for like 10 bucks. And there are obviously millions of Honda Accords in junkyards out there, so very easy to find. So yeah, and there's the factory snorkel. That's the top piece that fits in the top, and But yeah, so that's my air filter solution. Once I get it all done, I will put another video up and show you how it all turned out for the permanent solution. But for now, there you go. There's your cone filter attached to a custom air boot going down to the turbo, suspended by a timing belt. Very solid, and it's nice and free floating in there, and it's not going anywhere, and that'll work just fine for a while. And it really rips with this filter. It really flows a lot, so it's not restrictive at all, and it really maximizes the power. But yeah, there you go. Hit me up with any questions.